Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Great Lakes International Innovation Summit. We're very happy that you're joining us this afternoon. And at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Stacy Strauss, the director of the Ohio University Innovation Center. And she is going to moderate our panel on rural innovation. So thank you, Stacy and team. We look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Megan, and kudos on a good event thus far. This morning's sessions were very informative. So hopefully we can keep this going.
Good event thus far. This morning's sessions were very informative. So hopefully we can keep this going.
So I'm the director of the Ohio University Innovation Center. Joining me on the panel are Rebecca Singer and Joe Thiel. I will let them introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Singer, and I'm the president and CEO of CIFT, which is the Center for Innovative Food Technology. We are a private, nonprofit organization based in Toledo, Ohio. But we provide a lot of business and technical assistance to food and agricultural companies all across the Buckeye State as well as beyond. So it is my pleasure to be here and join in this discussion today. And I hope that we're able to shed some light on some really innovative things in our rural areas. So thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. My name is Joe Thiel. I'm the CEO of Innovate Marquette SmartZone here in Marquette. And I'm also the executive director of GLIn2. Innovate Marquette SmartZone is one of 21 smart zones in the state of Michigan. We're focused on high-tech innovation, incubation, and acceleration. We work with clients in the high-tech space to help develop new ideas or help their businesses pivot with additional technology. On the GLIn2 side, I won't go into it too much. We got a little bit more discussion later about that, but we are a student-run organization in partnership with Northern Michigan University to have students work with clients through the innovation process to help enrich the students and to help them gain skills that they can use in the 21st century workforce. Really glad to be here. It's going to be a great discussion. Thanks for having me. University to have students work with clients.
So we're still getting a bit of an echo. Has everyone, the presenters only gone backstage?
So we're still getting a bit of an echo. Has everyone, the presenters only gone backstage? So we're still getting a bit of an echo. Has everyone, the presenters only gone backstage? So we're still getting a bit of an echo. Has everyone, the presenters only gone backstage?
Okay, I think we are good now. Terrific. So apologies for the technical difficulties. So Joe, Rebecca, and I were able to connect earlier, and we came up with 7 talking points that are, we feel, kind of specific to rural areas, but certainly are applicable in all communities. The first of those is the importance of being a part of a larger ecosystem. So all of us who work with entrepreneurs and startups have to rely on many partners. And for a number of reasons, the shared resources are a lifeline. I know for us at the Ohio University Innovation Center, as well as all of our counterparts across the region. So Rebecca, can you talk a little bit about how being a part of the MEP network is impactful and the value that they bring as a partner to your work?
Absolutely. So we are very fortunate to serve as an affiliate to the Ohio Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Every state actually has an MEP program, but not all states manage it in the same capacity. So Ohio is unique in the fact that we have 6 partners around the state that work with companies on a regional basis to deliver assistance through the MEP system. But others may have that where it's just housed at a university or it's housed at one main entity and it covers the entire state. But the value that really brings is that we have our resources that are within Ohio and within our affiliates, but then we also can tap into this national network that they're consistently pushing us to do, which really kind of gives us an eye on what's being done in other states and how can we learn from that. We just had a best practices conference so that each of us could kind of take away some findings that really are relevant across the board to whatever companies might be needing. But everyone kind of has a different way of relaying that information and delivering that assistance and service. So being involved in a national network really just broadens your ability to tap into that expertise. You can't certainly have the knowledge on every component yourself individually, or you'd be spread way too thin. So it really has worked out nicely, and we have a lot of states and a lot of partners that have real specific things that they can deliver upon. And so it's nice to have that safety net to turn to them and bring them into the fold whenever necessary.
Great, thank you. And Joe, this is a little bit of a teaser for the next session on university partnerships, but from your perspective, how has the Invent at NMU, Northern Michigan University program, benefited the work that you guys are doing there?
I can tell you it's been a wonderful experience. One of the things as a serial entrepreneur myself, I've always wanted to get back and share my knowledge and mentor students. So from our perspective, Innovate Marquette SmartZone, we have a great opportunity as kind of experts in the field of innovation and entrepreneurism to be able to work with students and mentor them and help them kind of not make some of the same mistakes that we may have made throughout our careers. So that's wonderful. The other piece of it is that we also get to learn from the next generation of who we're going to supply the technology to, right? Culturally, we change quite a bit as time goes on. And these students are very modern-minded, modern-focused, and we get to listen and we get to be mentored by them to ensure that we're actually creating products and technology and businesses that match what their needs are. So it's a really nice play back and forth. Also, the students they're involved in a lot of classes at the university, and we go back and forth with their class structure here to kind of accentuate that hands-on, the soft skills that they really need. A lot of students today are very technology focused, and many they don't want to pick up the phone and call somebody a lot of times, stuff like that. So we want to be able to help them get those soft skills, working with clients and working with real businesses to kind of break down those barriers and some of those communication challenges that they have to help support them in their career. And we've had a 99% job placement rate out of the organization, which is fantastic.
That is fantastic. Yeah, we have a similar program, and so many of our client companies, their very first hire is a student that we place within their company. So that embedded type of program is invaluable indeed.
I think students can get involved in that if they have programs at theirs, or if they're right now, and if there are students out there that are in high school who are looking to go to university, to look at a university program similar to the ones that we offer, are really beneficial to the students when they're looking for the university they want to attend.
Great. So staying along the theme of partnerships, Rebecca, you partner with USDA on a program called ARS. Can you share more about that?
The USDA has a program. The ARS is the Agricultural Research Service. And this is such an untapped gem in terms of what the information and resources are available to anyone. There's just about 1,900 scientists all across the country that are under this program in the USDA fold, and they are doing amazing work. But most generally, it is research, and the part that they've asked us to kind of contribute to is finding companies, whether it's entrepreneurs or existing companies that would have interest in some of this research and either have a CRADA or a licensing agreement or some sort of working relationship that would be able to transform what's being done in the lab to a commercial application. And that is something that I think a lot of people just don't recognize, maybe think that it's a little bit unavailable, but where it really serves the most opportunity is with entrepreneurs, because it kind of gives them that technical expertise in the background to help maybe spur some new technology out into the marketplace. So we actually we're a founding member of a group that spun off that is called the Agricultural Technology Innovation Partnership, or the ATIP program. And that is where we're constantly trying to look at what technologies are being offered at the USDA level and try to link that to companies or individuals or entrepreneurs that we believe might have interest. And the other part that's really kind of nice about that too is sometimes if there's a close fit, but there's some additional types of research that needs to be done and completed yet, we can help guide that researcher to do that, because then there's a commercial interest versus just making those decisions in and of themselves. So it's a really nice partnership, and I encourage people to not forget about the federal laboratories as a resource and a place to really spin ideas out of, versus just kind of assuming that they're doing research for the better good. It is really impactful, very insightful and relevant information that they really do want to try to get out into the commercial marketplace. So it's a great partnership, and we're certainly always able to help guide people through that process.
Great. Yeah, the USDA has been a great funder of ours here in the Innovation Center, and also offers a lot of grants and loans programs for rural environments to help our companies launch and grow. So a real federal resource there. Joe, so back to you. I learned a little bit about smart zones by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So how has being a smart zone guided and aided your organization's work?
Yeah, the MEDC made some great moves a few years back in creating smart zones, which is a Michigan state and locally funded organization for the advancement of innovation and technology in regions. We are in a rural region. We do have actually 3 smart zones in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, one in Houghton, one here in Marquette, and one in Sault Ste. Marie. And there's a whole number of the other 21 smart zones in Lower Michigan where there's more population. Being part of a network of innovation and entrepreneurs with state support is really great, because we have our own, like, kind of our own lane. So we're really focused on sustainability, accessibility, and smart, secure, connected platforms. That's really our main focus. And what the state did is they created a gateway program. And what the gateway program does is it allows us to share clients between smart zones who have expertise within that specific, in your specific lane. So say there's in Ann Arbor, there's a company down there, or even in Houghton, where they have a certain technology that maybe isn't specifically focused to that smart zone. Well, they can look through the whole entire network at other smart zones and say, well, who's focused on this technology? And then that client can then transfer to a different smart zone for a while and utilize that expertise, and then go back to their home smart zone if need be, or just transfer the smart zone directly. And we can also collaborate between smart zones when we have technologies that cross across different bandwidths of innovation. For instance, Houghton and we are working on a client together in a beachfront, high-tech beachfront alert system that ties directly into the Weather Service data. So we've got the Weather Service data providers and buoy technology in Houghton, and then we have the lighting technology and the beach accessibility and water accessibility technologies here. So we were able to combine forces with that company to really help, build partnerships to help them grow faster. So having that whole network and all of that there for us to be able to have access to, it really rounds out the whole innovation process for us and allows us to really become subject matter experts in specific technologies and specific areas of technology to be able to collaborate as a whole state, which is really cool. And that's probably the biggest benefit, I think, beyond also having a voice collectively for innovation at the state, which is really great too.
That is terrific. Good. It's good to see that states neighboring Ohio have different models, but similar in their impact and intent. So one other question in terms of the importance of being a part of a larger ecosystem for you, Joe, is Invest UP. So this is a little more regional, focusing on the Upper Peninsula.
Mhm.
But tell us about that program and how it benefits your work.
Yeah, so we work very closely with Invest UP. Actually, the client that I just mentioned, if you look at our economic development ecosystem here, in the winter, all of our EDO ecosystem partners will be located in the same building, which is fantastic. So Invest UP, us, and all the others. We've built a coalition together as a unified force to really accentuate our individual skills. So we're an incubator accelerator. So we really bring early stage clients in. We vet those clients early. We get them prepared with a business plan, pitch package, get them ready to kind of begin to build their scaling plan, an investment plan. Invest UP is the next stage of that. So they're looking for well-developed companies or investors at a more higher skill set to be able to bring to us as we get those companies cultivated at a certain point. Then Invest UP picks them up and takes them beyond that. And they are fully regionally focused across the whole entire Upper Peninsula. And they work very closely with MEDC and us. So, we are actually very collaborative together. I'm talking to their CEO all the time and their staff all the time. We just wrote that federal grant for the Build to Scale Capital Challenge that we won. That was written between Invest UP, us, and Northern Michigan University. We were only one of 7 rural regions in the country to get that guy. And so we did that collaboratively together, and we work very, very closely and are even aligning our resources even further over the next year to really understand where we all fit within the ecosystem and where we can be most beneficial to the ecosystem as a whole. And then on our education outreach. So we're really Marquette-centric focused. We do a lot of education in the Marquette region, and then we work with LSCP and Invest UP and QPAD to share those best practices out further to the UP region. So we're also collaborative on our outreach and training.
Fantastic. Yeah, and you're getting some love in the comments there, but yeah, congratulations on the EDA award. After winning 2 in the last 5 years, I know how much work that takes, and it's impossible to do without great partners.
That's right.
So one question we have before we go to a video that highlights the value of partnerships, among other things. In rural areas, do you have to find the EIR for your startups, or do they come to you? And Rebecca, why don't you talk about that first?
I would say most of the time they come to us a bit. I don't know that we've done a huge amount of going out to search. Most of them come to us, I would say, in the scenarios that I'll be sharing. But we're always, promoting and talking about some of the different things that we do. So that's an opportunity for people to identify us more readily. But I would say we're fortunate that a lot of that comes to us.
Yeah, I agree. We get volunteers quite a lot for folks who perhaps are serial entrepreneurs that have entered retirement that want to provide guidance. And then being a university-based incubator really helps. We have a lot of talented alum from Ohio University that want to help. So we do maintain a staff, including an executive coach. But if we have to call upon sector experts, we have a whole list of dozens that have come to us wanting to be able to provide those services. And
I would agree with that too. I think the Alumni Association here at the university has been a great resource for that. And when we need that, we also have a wonderful partnership with Accelerate UP. Accelerate UP is another local EDO. They're low tech, no tech, cottage industry, and what we call our UP unicorn ideas. They have a great resources of mentorship as well. We also have partnered with Connect Marquette. Connect Marquette has a bunch of under 40 highly talented people in different fields that we can tap into too. So we have quite a few different organizations depending on what we're looking for that resource to be able to tap into to assist our clients when they need that mentorship. We also, I'm on the board of Invest UP, and Invest UP is a higher level of that type of assistance here in our region. When we do have developed businesses who have CEOs and C-level and directors and managers who also need mentorship and support, we have that resource for them as well.
Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and take a look at a video. And this, when I watched it earlier, was very, well, I almost cried. So kudos, Rebecca, on a great piece of work, which illustrates how partners came together, particularly during the pandemic, to help some companies in your neck of the woods there in Northern Ohio.
I'm the oldest in the family, and when I was 19 years old, I stood shoulder to shoulder with my mother and father and brother and sister, all of our neighbors, all of our competitors, everybody that was there to celebrate our failure, and watch them auction off 25 years of our family's work. Even right down to my mother's car and our house. And it was truly a survival situation. I hadn't had that deep heartbreak, scared feeling so severely as I did the last March when COVID hit. It was really a scary moment that perhaps the last 37 years was deja vu. Here we go again.
So I think in March of 2020, nobody really knew how bad this was going to be.
We had supply chain issues at grocery stores. We had supply chain issues within restaurants.
Much of our customer base was in the food service segment. Restaurants, stadiums, schools, universities.
We were living week by week, thinking, okay, any day now, this thing's going to go away. And that certainly wasn't the case.
Everybody's phone's going off. It's these text messages. Our governor shut down restaurants. And then it was real.
To not take these actions today will cost lives. People will die if we do not make these decisions. And I don't know any other way of saying it. How long this order will be in effect, we don't frankly know.
Once the shutdown happened here, we were immediately impacted. And some of our orders, if they either were placed, they were canceled. We even had orders that had gone out to shipment that people were trying to cancel because they no longer could utilize our food products in their offerings. All of it was just shut down. The biggest thing that we saw was just uncertainty.
The adapt or die concept or mantra has probably never been more true than it was in this last year for all of us. We've all had to adjust.
Taking that moment to stop everything and just pause allowed us to really rethink our business model.
Somebody asked me to consider this our normal state of affair for 2 years. Assume this is going to be here for 2 years. What would you do differently today? And that statement stopped me in my tracks. Once we realized the nature of the pandemic, we started to pool our resources together to address the concerns that many of our franchise operators had at that time.
Like many of my colleagues in the distilling industry, we turned to making hand sanitizer. We did a little bit differently because we partnered very early on with the Cleveland Clinic. Wound up making hand sanitizer for their 51,000 frontline healthcare workers.
We had lots of product available, we just had no place to go with it. The thing that we thought that we could do the quickest and perhaps be the most help was to be able to pivot to home delivery.
You can't telework in manufacturing. The bottle's going down the line, the sauces need to be mixed and tested and approved, and that can't happen remotely. We needed to have people in the building actually doing the hands-on work that needed to be done to ensure the quality of all of our products.
for a while there, those essential workers became bigger contributors to the entire recovery of the pandemic.
I'm grateful we got the head start that our governor gave us. You know, it hurt at first, but it allowed us to make some changes faster than the rest of the industry. And it's really important that we stayed that course and made it work.
We said, look, we know that there's going to be a future. There's going to be an end to this. So we have to continue doing that so that we're ready as we come out of it and have the production capability that we need in the future. So we're still doing demo. We've been working with architects and engineers and everybody else as part of this process. And, so one of the things we also did was not slow down.
Look, this thing was devastating. We've all lost loved ones. And we all have friends and family that have really suffered from this. But you always got to look for some silver lining in every single disaster that happens. I have seen more creativity and more ingenuity, and out of the ashes of this devastation, there will be new ways to be able to do things. And that's what we do in this country, is we figure things out.
Change is coming. There's a light out from the sun. A new time, a new day, a new world is coming.
If I had any advice to give myself from before this happened or right in the mix of it, I would say keep going. Forward is the only option. You could understand your pivot points and be flexible enough to be able to change with the market, because it will change, but keep going.
We're making the world a better place, one person at a time. Making the world a better place, one day at a time. And it starts right now. Change the world.
For a year, Ohioans have made sacrifices to save lives and keep our state moving forward.
We learned that diversification is critical if you want to maintain your business.
We learned how flexible we could be. And I think we learned that as a team, people were willing to step up.
They have heart for what they're doing and the cause associated with it.
It's still on brand. It's still doing exactly what it's here to do. It's just doing it for a different audience when that audience needed it most.
We have a very simple mission statement, and that's every day make good whiskey and do the right thing. It's that simple.
And it starts right now. Change the world.
We are Ohioans, we're Buckeyes, we're strong, and we will finish the job.
Change the world.
Great. So hopefully you all agreed. Very nice production from Rebecca's organization there. And, from our perspective down here in Southeast Ohio, never have I witnessed the rallying of partners and people coming together as an incubator that supports biotech and life science, as well as all tech and tech-enabled sectors. We had 4 essential businesses in the building, and so the university shut down, but we could not. And we were able to provide guidance and connect with others. One example, a company who had not made sanitizer in the past decided to pivot and make sanitizer. They consulted with a distillery that's just up the street. We called in our FDA consultants and made that change happen within just a few short weeks. So that's part of the advantage of a rural environment. Kind of leads us to our next topic of conversation, is having that interconnectivity. I think you've already heard Joe list off 8 or 10 partners there in the UP. and we are similarly situated down here. So as we come out of this pandemic now, rural areas are also recognizing an opportunity to attract better talent and workforce, and to leverage the resources that exist here in this in these rural regions. So on the topic of attraction efforts, Joe, can you share a little bit about Make It Marquette, MQT, and what that initiative looks like and how you played a part?
You bet. So I have pretty talented marketing staff here. Pretty talented is a way understatement. I've got a couple of staff members, and my marketing director, Nicole, and then my marketing coordinator, Kristen, were both UP natives and came back to the area. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term boomerang, but that's someone who grew up in the UP and was able to come back after trip around doing different things. Both work for very high-level marketing organizations. They saw this coming about a year ago with the remote work initiative. And the program is actually multifaceted. Really, phase one is to educate our local community about the remote work opportunities and what that means and how that functions and what businesses are actually accepting remote work in the beginning. And then beyond that was also educating local businesses about the transition to remote work and the opportunity for that. And the second phase really is to reach out to other people who are affiliated with the university, maybe graduated from Northern or grew up in the UP, who have, because of job placement somewhere outside the UP, who have an opportunity to come back as a remote worker. So we really saw this remote work opportunity early on. We really want to build a campaign around Make It Marquette. If you guys go to the makeitmqt.com, you'll see some pretty great videos there. Explaining, kind of the local life and the amazing benefits of living in the UP, but also some really great people of Marquette showcases. There were they're actually Marquette folks living here now who have come here, put down roots, and made a successful life for themselves, who came from all regions around the country. So that was really the outreach for that. It was really focused on remote work and the tech nomad individuals, but also it's really kind of now morphing into actually some climate refugees and other folks affected not only by the pandemic but also by climate change, which is kind of an interesting pivot for us. So we're starting to kind of really look at many people in the region that have moved here from Utah, California, areas that are affected by wildfires and climate change as another opportunity for us. And that's why we built the campaign. We had some foresight to it. And had some really great talent here to be able to put it all together. We worked with some really great firms to do the videos. We've got an amazing local videography company here that also was working on the Pure Michigan campaign with Aaron Peterson. So all of it came together, culminated. All the resources came together. We felt that there was a movement was happening, and we wanted to be, because of the amazing outdoor recreation asset that we have here and that amazing ability to live here, we felt if people were able to be mobile, they should come and join us.
Great. So we'll go ahead and share the video that you talked about, and so everyone can take a look at the beautiful skiing and adventure. It's been too long since I've been to the UP. Need to get back there, 3 years or so.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah, now I have a place to visit when I'm up there.
Smart, innovative businesses work in Michigan's Upper Peninsula because here
there was very low attrition. We didn't have very many people leaving. We had a good quality work staff that actually showed up and showed up on time. And because of how well we did here, they opened a second location up in Glen.
we were able to build a $800 million facility. We did that on time, under budget. And the reason that we were so successful in building that operation here is because of the local workforce.
And the people themselves have that, I call it really the Midwest attitude that just says, we're going to come in, we're going to work hard, we're going to do what we need to do, and we're going to help each other get there. The UP is a competitive, business-friendly region with low labor costs in several key industries, including world-class STEM. Our communities offer incentives and will welcome you with endless assistance.
Without a doubt, Michigan is the easiest state to conduct your business. It's easy to start your business. It's far easier to operate your business.
We've been able to stay at a real high world-class level with great marketing help, with great bankers, with great insurance agents, and we've got all of that up here.
The whole community is working together, including the political side, MEDC, the state side, and then the local businesses. So it's kind of a synergistic action that's happening, and it's just one example of how the community companies help each other.
A lot of industry partners look at universities and value universities because we can provide them with a somewhat of a discounted R&D. I think Michigan's very progressive when it comes to valuing research and innovation that's being done at the intersect between industry and universities.
We've been able to attract companies to put a satellite office here, including GE, Ford, Dematic, Jackson Life. They come here to utilize students to get routine engineering work done, or sometimes research, and develop their talent pipeline.
30 airports, miles of railway, and an international shipping port allows companies the ability to deliver anywhere, just as if they were anywhere in the Midwest. The shipping aspects of being in this place is quite nice because we're right in the middle of the country. So 95% of our business is actually international. We can ship through Chicago, through Green Bay. We're in the middle of the country.
We're 2.6 days to Los Angeles, 2.6 days to Miami, 2.6 days to Portland, Maine.
Executives and professionals are also drawn here because of lower living costs and low stress lifestyle that gives them the room to innovate and positive energy to work.
I can't think of anywhere else where a lowly professor like me would be able to live on a lake and be surrounded by all this beauty. It's a wonderful place to be.
People choose to live in the UP because of the climate and the recreational resources we have. We have great terrain. You can't beat our freshwater resources. And the best thing is, it's right outside our front door.
The 20 to 40-year-olds are moving to the UP just for the UP, and then they're looking for a job. And if you want to really make someone happy, or you want to make your business happy, is hire someone who's up here and thinks they died and gone to heaven because they're all, after work, they get to go play outside.
We support each other and we take care of each other.
It's a place where you can really stretch your mind and imagination and work with others to accomplish whatever you want to. I would just encourage anybody to come here and live the dream up here like the rest of us do.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to get back to the UP. It's been a little while. Now this just inspired me to get my act together and get back up there. So that was great.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I especially appreciated the professor referring to himself as the lowly professor.
Great.
Those of you who were able to know or able to attend the keynote address by John Husted, I think we have a little rivalry now. He talked about Ohio being the best place to start a business, and Michigan, you guys certainly have a case to make there.
Yeah, Crunch Mag said it was the #1 place for new startups.
Great. So, in our region, we have a bit of a tagline in an attempt to attract the 20 to 40s, the millennials back as well. And so time permitting, we'll take a look at that video. But our tagline is rural is cool. And I think a lot of people are starting to figure that out right now. And so let's go back to something else that the Lieutenant Governor mentioned with regard to incubators and entrepreneurial service organizations in general, is that they need to create value and they need to have resources that align with the communities in which they serve. So I think that we certainly have examples of that here on the panel. And for rural, that typically means being mixed use and having some specificity with regard to your expertise, but also generalists on staff and facilities that can accommodate more than one thing. So I want to hear more from Rebecca about the food and ag and the other sectors that you focus on, and how you make that work both physically and by delivering services to clients where they are.
Well, I will kind of focus primarily on our Northwest Ohio Cooperative Kitchen as an example of this in action. We are very fortunate that we have a facility located at the Agricultural Incubator Foundation. And so we kind of have two different types of things that we're doing from an entrepreneur and innovation standpoint. One is really looking at the agricultural practices. And so that particular location has 140 acres worth of ground that I call my little playground for new ideas. And we try to demonstrate different types of techniques so that then it might inspire agriculture advancement, or it might get some of our specialty crop growers in the region interested in implementation. So it could be anything from hydroponic production to hops. We've had aquaculture, hoop houses, high tunnels, just about anything that you could think of that we've kind of tried to demonstrate. And then we bring in growers as well as extension agents and everyone who is designed to assist them in trying to implement these types of tools and techniques in their operations. So that's on the agricultural side. And then at the same place, we have our kitchen facility, which we will work with anyone who has nothing more than a recipe or their great grandma's passed down for generations, and they come in and say they're really interested in trying to make this into a business, and we'll give them all the business and technical assistance necessary to achieve that goal. And it's not just us. So we focus primarily on the technical component and what it takes to have a safe, viable food product for the market, and how you go about making that happen. And then we rely on our partners, whether it's the small business development centers, SCORE, and a number of other entities that are around the region that kind of can bring in that business component and guide them through that. So we kind of let them, the resources outside of our own to focus on the business piece. And then we just accelerate their activities. If they get to the point where they're confident in what they're able to do and they've done all the necessary regulatory components, then they're able to actually utilize our facility to make their product. And we've had about 42 businesses launch out of the kitchen, all sorts of things from barbecue sauces to salad dressings to condiments of just about anything you can imagine. And fortunately, most of them in the space that we have available are able to service not only our local markets, but the state and actually nationwide. One of our graduates that moved into their own facility was able to get product into 25 states before leaving our venue. So that's really exciting to see. We are constantly looking at what are the challenges those businesses are facing and how can we bring viable solutions to the table. Distribution is a tremendous challenge right now. And so we are trying to pull together a network that can accommodate some of this, some of the hurdles that are associated with trying to get product moved from one point to the other. And that's going to continue to be an emphasis probably in the near future. But then also looking at some creative things, whether it's new technology, we're bringing in some automation into the kitchen to help them be more efficient and effective, just like some of the larger scale food processors that are out there. And then also some potential co-purchasing opportunities or anything that might help them from a cost perspective to be more competitive in the marketplace. And because this location is in the epitome of rural, Ohio, it is, and there's cornfields all around it. It is definitely accommodating to anyone that might have some specialty crops that they just want to come in and make into a value-added product, or if they're just looking to be able to explore some of the agricultural components themselves. So really a nice opportunity for us to engage in really tailoring services around the food and agriculture entrepreneurs.
Fantastic. Good. And Joe, can you talk about how Innovate Marquette has or does choose its sectors based on where you are geographically?
Yeah, our main sectors right now are sustainability, really focusing on sustainable materials and advanced materials, and also sustainable practices. Northern Michigan University has launched the SHINE initiative, which is SHINE Institute, which is a sustainability hub and innovation hub on the campus. So we link directly with the university. And we also have some pretty large businesses in the area that are focused on remediation and sustainability and water quality and purity. We have the Lake Superior Watershed that we're partnered with. It's a nonprofit organization. We have Trimedia, which is probably one of the largest in the northern Midwest in terms of environmental and sustainability and remediation. So we really look at, okay, so how can we create a very valuable pathway from incubation to full scale? And we have a lot of businesses right now that are in the incubation phase and acceleration phase, and some actually going out for investment right now that fit within that space really well. We also educate our locals on what sustainability means and all the aspects of sustainability and how that functions, so that they can be innovative in that space as well with their own ideas and businesses. It also allows us as a team to become subject matter experts in that space. So it really is tied. When you look at an ecosystem, you're looking at the university, you're looking at public-private partnerships and the resources that we have here. The second leg that we really focus on is accessibility, which is the accessibility to the outdoor recreational asset that we have here. Huge asset in the outdoor recreational space. And so we're looking at advanced mobility electrification and advanced mobility in outdoor recreational space and testing, corporate testing, as well as outdoor recreational tourism across all those channels and outdoor recreational products. That also ties really nice to sustainability, because we want to sustain one of our most valuable assets in the UP. But we also want to create advanced materials and sustainable materials that fill in to the outdoor recreation mobility space, because there's a lot of products in that space right now using standard materials that can potentially be sustainable materials. Many of those sustainable materials can be used, sustainable products can be used for remediation technology and micro-remediation and phytoremediation. So those are really tie nicely together. Then we have a third cool piece, which is high-tech, advanced, smart, connected platforms. That's really cybersecurity and the cybersecurity element, and then those connected platforms, applications, and platforms. That really kind of ties everything together. And then we have a final leg, which is in the arts and culture space. So indie film, indie music, indie gaming, app development. You guys may know we have the Fresh Coast Film Festival here. So we have, again, an incubator space for new technology in arts and technology, as well as visually and hearing impaired technologies in the art space, which we can cultivate that in the incubator, and then we can advance that up, and we have a presentation space to present those projects out to the whole, out through Fresh Coast Film Festival. So it really is utilizing the resources we have, building a mindset that the community is on board with. So we're sustainable, we're accessible, and we're a smart, connected community here in the UP. If you look at our broadband initiatives, that falls right in with that. You look at all the companies we work with, it really kind of goes across the whole entire vein of our heritage and culture too, so people can really connect with it well. And that's really how we determine that. Now, of course, there's a ton of ancillary ideas that are out there that people want to start businesses, of course, and that's where we have partnerships like with Accelerate UP for low tech, no tech, cottage industry businesses. We have partnerships with other EDOs within our ecosystem to help support others. But from a high tech perspective, that's really where we're focused, and I think that ties really nicely into the community where we can connect and create language that people understand.
Definitely, yeah. Well, kudos on the sustainability work. Any water remediation. As a child growing up in Cleveland, not to date myself, but I do remember the Cuyahoga River burning. So it's a focus. And down here in Southeast Ohio, there are a lot of great ideas around mining, coal mining, abandoned mines, acid drain. So great ideas and thought leaders on the chemistry side figuring out how to take those problems and create solutions. There's a local company that creates paint from acid mine drainage. So very, very important that in rural areas we continue to recognize the history, the culture, and look at the challenges as opportunities.
So there's also a lot of in that space for the last 100 to 200 years, right? You've got a lot of companies that were grown and developed in this previous economy. And there's a lot of dollars and leadership associated with that. And when you can kind of pivot that economy to something more modern, more environmentally friendly, you get a lot of buy-in from that infrastructure in the forestry industry, mining industry. There's a lot of dollars there that can support new economy. As those, mining isn't something that's sustainable forever, right? I mean, extraction practices and forestry practices are, have been innovative for 200 years, but at some point in time, you've extracted all the materials from the area. So how do you then turn that and become sustainable again? And I think that in combination of those things can be very beneficial for a region when you're looking at new economy and new clusters of industry around those economies.
Exactly. Yes. So Joe, you alluded to, using vernacular and speaking the language that connects and resonates with local populations. So can you talk a little bit more about how your marketing efforts and your outreach is targeted toward where you are?
Yeah, the biggest piece is really listening and getting a really great group from the community to discuss what we're trying to do and get their feedback on how to present the language. We chose the Make It Marquette theme. And if you look at our innovation process, it's pretty simple. Language, we make it well. Right, we make it work, we make it well, and we make it for everyone. So it's a scaling process. So in the make it side is really the prepare and predict the idea and create the MVP. When we say we make it work, we're really patenting, prototyping, building a business plan, doing a product scope, and getting a pitch package together. Making it work well is really with partnerships and people. How do we bring in talent? How do we put together partnerships? How do we then begin to put together a scale plan for the organization? And obviously the funding process follows the whole thing. And then in our final phase, make it work for everyone is really that scale plan. Okay, how do we proliferate and profit the idea? How do we scale it? So to take that and look at the actual process of that is pretty complex. You've got basically 16 main components in that process, very technical components that identify many aspects of the business to ensure success. And you have breakpoints throughout that whole process. And you have capitalization through the whole process. But to really drive it down to real simple terms, we're going to make it. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it well, and we're going to make it for everyone. Really resonates with our community, and they can drive it, and then that drives into our Make It Marquette, right? If you can accomplish these things and you can follow this process, you can make it here. So it's really language driven by a lot of meetings with the community and language that's very easy to understand and can be followed, and then obviously in a process that can be also language that can be in a process that you can follow. A lot of this business development and a lot of the aspects of business development can be very confusing for early stage entrepreneurs, and we want to make that as painless as possible, and we want to provide all the resources and education to ensure that entrepreneurs feel comfortable. The last thing you want an entrepreneur is to fail because they think they can't accomplish it, and so we want to break that barrier down, and we also want to fill in the valley of death of entrepreneurism. Right. So all of these things that we're doing, education, resources, talent, that there's a pretty big valley between your idea and commercialization. And that valley, many entrepreneurs get stuck in the bottom of that valley and they never get out. So we're trying to fill that in as much as we can to assist it to get through that and get to commercialization and generate revenue.
Great. Thank you. And we here at the Innovation Center back in 2016 won a grant from the Appalachian Regional Commission to adopt different language and to have a model wherein we replicated what we did here in the incubator out in the region and met people where they are physically, geographically, by having coaches that were out traveling. And that was certainly a great initiative. And what we realized was that there were entrepreneurs all over the region that didn't even think of themselves as entrepreneurs, but had great ideas, and with just a little bit of help, were able to get to market. So Rebecca, along those lines, can you share with the group the on-site training and workshops that you offer? Those are essentially in-house at companies throughout the region that you serve. Is that right?
That is. And I'll just kind of comment on Joe's first. The Make It tagline and everything that you just described is pretty exceptional. I mean, it seems like it's kind of simple, but it's good. That's what we want to see happen and get people to really resonate. It resonates well. Our message when it comes to our food entrepreneurs is we have what we call a steps to production guide. And we literally take them through one by one because we've had so many different scenarios and sad stories about how somebody jumped ahead and maybe got all excited about one piece that they're just most interested in, and whether that was trying to scale up the recipe or whether it was just going out and buying a whole bunch of jars and slapping a label on that wasn't appropriate, and then being out of on that expense side. And so we've really tried to take it down to, if you follow these steps, you're going to most certainly be successful, at least in getting a product ready. Then it's going to be you're going to have to take that and really understand the sales and the business perspective to grow it and scale it out. But certainly being able to make it is a critical message, and that it's possible and that there's help there. As far as what we do a number of trainings. Right now, we're in the middle of doing what we call a boot camp for entrepreneurs. And it's a 3-day program for half a day each. And it's guiding people through every step, whether it's just getting their business started and how to establish a business, to the accounting aspects and the marketing and regulatory and every piece and part, how to work with a distributor, what it means to engage with a broker, any of those pieces that we think that might serve as a tripping point. We've brought in people to speak to it, and then they have the opportunity to talk to others who are within their same space. The nice part is when you've got the entrepreneurs in the room that they can share what they did, and maybe it didn't work out as well as they would have thought, and they can help guide each other, because truly it kind of becomes almost like a network of family, not so much competitors. That's what's been so rewarding to see that happen when it comes to the individuals that we're engaging with. And so we have the boot camp, and we've been doing that just last week and this week. But we also do a number of trainings at location. So if it's a food processor that's looking for some assistance, whether it's specific to food safety, and we bring in our people go into their location and they train as many people as possible with some of the latest and greatest on things that you need to know. Or if it's kind of just how to continue to improve on with lean practices and make changes. One of the things that we're trying to do with the workforce challenges is just making everyone more efficient with the people that they have, and understanding if they have the people in the right positions. Just because you've been with a company a long time doesn't necessarily make you a leader within that space. And so kind of going in and teaching people some of those soft skills and how to identify if you need to make some adjustments to have a more positive culture. And that only happens on site. You need to be able to get in and see what companies are doing and how they're doing it. And so we do some group things where it's at our location so that people can get a feel for what's available. But I think what's most impactful is being able to take that out and go into a company and really be a part of them during that training exercise, whatever the topic may be.
Great. Yep. Two great examples of how to make it happen in a rural environment. So Rebecca, you alluded to our next topic, which is talent. Obviously, we're all aware it's a national problem right now, but certainly feel it in the rural settings where our population density is lower, and there is perhaps a lack of diversity and a lack of the number of folks interested in certain positions. So Rebecca, can you talk about how you have used a student credential program through the Ohio Department of Education to try to to fill that talent gap?
Certainly. We were fortunate a few years ago to start communicating with the Ohio Department of Education and exploring what it would take to develop a credential. We were most interested at that time in a food science focused credential because there really wasn't anything of that nature. All of our food processors were clamoring to try to find more people, and certainly, as we all know, getting in front of some of these kids at a little bit younger age before they make their own preconceived, or they get fed information or make their own preconceived notions about what jobs are like out there, trying to expose them to some things and maybe inspiring them in the process. So our credential is at the high school level, and we have two of them. There's an associate level, which is 120 hours of training and 100 hours of actual hands-on engagement in a food facility or something in there similar to it. And then there's a specialist level of 480 hours of training and 500 hours of hands-on. And so the students that participate in that can gain a credential from us. They submit an application describing what it was that they had completed. And if they get that credential, then we try to link them directly with some of our food processors in close proximity to where these students came from. So it's right in their rural area. They may not even know that food company exists, or they certainly don't know the right people to get in touch with. So we try to link them, and we're fortunate enough to have a state program that supports the cost of a food processor hiring them on as an intern, and it'll cover the cost to do so. So it gives them that next step of exposure, and they can see what it's like, and then hopefully end up becoming a full-time employee. So it's one of those things that we really are trying to build upon. Our next step is to work with some of our community colleges and having kind of a transitional adult similar type of training. So if people are interested in trying to find some alternative career and they're not certain, we want to try to at least give them exposure to the fact that the food industry is more than just what we tend to hear from the kids is they just think it's fast food jobs, and it's much more than that. There's a lot of science, there's a lot of technical components, there's marketing jobs that are specific to food that they just don't even think about. And so just trying to give them that assortment of opportunity. On our manufacturing side of what we do, October is manufacturing month. And so we're in the middle of really honing in on trying to engage individuals and showcasing what's possible out there. And we do tours for teachers and for guidance counselors, and we go through manufacturing facilities so that they have the exposure. Again, just trying to increase their awareness so that they don't have that assumption that these are still what they may have thought of when their grandparents worked in some of these manufacturing facilities, and how much more high tech they are and clean work environments and what's really being done. So we do this kind of from a number of different avenues. And circling back, kind of one of the creative things that we did for our food credential to try to get more teachers to teach the curriculum is every year we host a teacher workshop. So we do a 2-day workshop with 35 teachers around the state. And we tell them everything. We give them all the tools necessary to be able to go into their classroom and deliver this curriculum. Instead of having them find it for themselves and try to figure out what they need to do, we give it to them, whether it's making yogurt to the difference in types of oils when you're cooking, all sorts of different types of things. And they get really excited about it. We even challenge the teachers to come up with their own salsa recipe and market it to us like it was a product for sale. And so they then are inspired and kind of charged up so that when they go back, they can teach it to the students and hopefully get them that enthusiasm going as well. So just a number of different ways that we've tried to help to communicate, message, give resources, and encourage a future pipeline of workers. But there's certainly no one answer for any of it. We just have to keep being as creative as possible to get people interested.
That's fantastic. Yeah, well, as you make your way into the community college realm, I encourage you to look into the RAPIDS grant. It's a program through the Department of Higher Ed, and we won a grant previously to help build out capacity for talent for lab techs for some of the life science and biotech companies. So it's a great program. Joe, any strategies on attracting talent, keeping talent that has worked for your community?
Yeah, we have the talent here. The big issue for our community is the brain drain. and the talent leaving to go other places, go downstate and go to other states. If you look at the actual innovation that's been created in the Upper Peninsula, it's pretty staggering, considering, basically every single time a semiconductor gets put onto a printed circuit board, the silver solder that is the non-toxic, non-lead based solder was created in the UP. And so there's many amazing creations that have been made here, but have had to leave. So our goal right now is to work with Northern. Northern has a new a program called SISU Institute, which is an academic accelerator. And the academic accelerator is actually building skills through different degree programs based on what the industry needs. And this is a really cool program that they're utilizing, and we're going to utilize to work on the front end of that. So we're recognizing the industry need and the growth in industry. We've got a lot of onshore companies and things that are looking at the region that have specific skill sets, and then we look to the university to utilize that toolbox to build accelerated education programs to be able to provide that skilled workforce. The other thing too is capitalization locally. The biggest issue that I saw coming in the UP was actually to retain the talent. You have to create companies that are high-tech companies to retain the talent. And so our process right now in our incubation accelerator process is actually an investment plan for organizations to come in, get cultivated, and capture investment and keep those organizations here. Because of that, we have a really early front end visibility on new companies that are coming through our wheelhouse that have the high level potential to create high tech jobs, and then we can feed that information directly to the university, and then they can build those programs for us. So it really, for us, the biggest issue I saw was capitalizing new startups to retain the talent. We have had some companies come to the area that were bigger that you can 20, 30, 50 jobs, 100 jobs. We just had Norcross Group as a cybersecurity company come here and put an office here instead of out on the East Coast. Great, because it's a great place to live, and that's going to happen periodically. And we're going to continue to try to attract those great companies here. But I really feel the largest ability for us to retain talent is to create good companies that can then get invested and hire that talent, and then have the university on board to understand what skills they need. In our program, a lot of these students that we have in Invent NMU are working with clients for over a year as a junior and senior, and they're working with that company through all the phases and understanding the company inside and out, and are actually the perfect person to be a process change agent within the organization, and then get hired by the organization to move on and help them grow and scale. They built a plan with them, right? So our model is unique to where we can actually have those students on staff working with those startups, cultivating the startups, getting them prepared for investment, and then getting them invested, and then moving on with those organizations in the community and retaining that whole thing as in one, I guess one wheel, if you will, to be able to do that. And so I think that's really what we're focused on for talent retention, is create the high-tech businesses here that can retain the students that are helping those businesses grow and become invested.
Yeah, that's been our model as well. And it works. Albeit not as quickly as we would all like, but it's definitely cyclical. So changing gears a little, how, particularly, perhaps in a rural environment where people have their day job, they come up with their entrepreneurial idea and they have to start out doing that as a side hustle and a side gig. And perhaps they're also commuting if their current job is not in the rural location. So how do you manage being able to provide services evenings, weekends, both from a facilities perspective and a service delivery perspective? And Rebecca, why don't we start with you? And perhaps some in the audience would be interested how you handle the liability. Are clients able to come in and out of the kitchen, for example, 24/7 without staff being present?
We actually, a fair number of our companies use the kitchen are what I would call, this is their side gig with the hopes of it becoming much bigger. But initially they're not able to do anything beyond that. So what we have always done is for our food entrepreneurs is have our training focused in the evening, because that way we can accommodate if they do have a day job and they want to come and participate afterwards. The one positive about COVID is it's really gotten us to do things more virtually and a little bit more flexible in recording some of those things so that people can have access to it when it's convenient to them, which has been kind of a nice thing to see happen. We do allow our kitchen's open 24/7, and it's 7 days a week. But you are not able to access that until you've went through at least 3 production runs with our kitchen manager on site to make sure that you understand all the dynamics of proper sanitation and everything else that's involved. It is a nice thing to offer, but a lot of our folks are very concerned about doing it when there's not a staff person there. We have someone who's on call if they're there, but she's not there 24/7, obviously. And so it's available, and we get more of our caterers and some of our confection folks and some of the people doing that type of product that tend to be there in the evenings and weekends because that's what they need to do. But we really do try to make sure that it's available and accessible as much as possible, recognizing the fact that it's not the primary source of income at this juncture for most. So as far as a liability perspective, we have insurance requirements that they carry as well as what the facility has. And so we're very well, we communicate that, and we stand by a lot of policies associated with that so that it allows them to be able to have that luxury of coming in when somebody isn't there. But a lot of our companies, that fits them perfectly. That is exactly the situation they're in. They ultimately want to try to get, where they can quit their day job per se and take this and run with it. They're just not quite there yet. And they're not ready to take that leap. So it gives them that leg up or that help.
Great. And Joe, how do you and your staff maintain your own work-life balance? Because I know you're available to your clients all the time.
Yep, absolutely. Well, from my perspective, I'm doing this really because I really, really love what I'm doing. And so I have a lot of flexibility in my schedule to be able to flex for people. But my staff is very, very flexible too. We understand that there are times we'll be going like crazy, and then we need to take time when we can take time. Our goal is to assist these entrepreneurs and innovators to get their organizations up and create jobs and create more economic growth in the region. So we do whatever we can to make that happen. And we know as a team, sometimes it'll be lots of nights and weekends for a while, but then we also understand as a team that we also need to have that work-life balance and really enjoy ourselves, and enjoy our time here. So we keep it really flexible. We're also in a hybrid. We're in the office Tuesdays and Thursdays as a schedule. And then we're remote. We utilize all the same technologies. Rebecca talked about that, and that's been a great thing too, to have more technology to be able to do it remotely. But I've been here many nights, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night with many entrepreneurs. One, for instance, is a MedPro Share. It's a medical professional document share technology similar to Teachers Pay Teachers, but more focused in the therapy realm and in school therapy. And that was single mom, super talented entrepreneur. And many just set it up on a weekly, 2 times a week, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it's also really good scheduling and planning things out and working with the entrepreneurs. And actually, I find it in some of those times are the most innovative times, because it's kind of it's later in the evening. You've kind of had a day, and you can really collaborate and ideate. I think a lot of our brainstorming and ideation and the one-on-one communication, we really focus our attention on that too, and plan and schedule and prepare. Really great agendas, really great planning to make sure the outcomes are done when we're done. It's really hard when you think, kind of blending into another meeting. On that schedule, it gets hard, right? So it's got to be clear, concise planning, agendas, and focused attention to make sure we're getting each one of those things done during those times too, to ensure we maximize that time when we have to use it.
But it is all worth it in the end, isn't it? Yeah. Our tagline here at the Innovation Center is building businesses, changing lives. And people have said to us, isn't that a little dramatic? And I said, no, we actually are. And it makes it all worth it when you can see the companies and entrepreneurs succeed.
When you can see a single mom who's been working on a project for 18 months get investment and get an equity stake in their company, and be able to look at their 5-year-old and say, sweetie, this is why we were doing all this stuff. I get to spend way more time with you now because what we did. That's very rewarding. That's why we're doing it.
Well, absolutely. Thank you all for such a great conversation about rural innovation and incubation. You all are running excellent programs, and I know that all of us in the audience really gleaned lots of information from you. Stacy, if you could just make sure that the planning team has the copy of all of the video links, we'll make sure that we share them out with everybody who attended. Those were really great, really impactful. And yes, I too need to go and revisit the UP. It's been too long. So everybody loves it. Thank you again. And for everybody else out there, we will be taking a quick break, and we're going to have a great panel on university innovation in 15 minutes. So, go get a new drink of water, go get a pop, a coffee, and we'll see you soon for a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining the Great Lakes Innovation Summit.